Those who move boundaries. Chapter 2. Echoes from the archive. The black rose persisted. Not physically, of course. It was a phantom, a digital aberration. But its image remained burned into Thea's mind, a stark, illogical counterpoint to the smooth data streams of the Supermatrix. The deep scan initiated by Lycos yielded nothing conclusive. Historical data cataloged the symbol, associating it with various cultural references: mourning, rebellion, the end of cycles, but none offered a technical explanation for its spontaneous generation. It was as if the Supermatrix, in its relentless pursuit of order, had coughed up a piece of the very chaos it sought to suppress. Thea spent the next few days in a state of focused disquiet. Her usual work, the meticulous monitoring and optimization of global systems, felt suddenly less critical. An unknown variable arose, a deviation that the system could not process, could not categorize, could not explain away with a neat algorithm. Expand search parameters. Look for any data anomalies correlating with historical records of significant emotional or cultural upheaval. Then, a ping. Anomaly detected, Lycos announced. Correlation coefficient, low but present. Source located in the archival department, sublevel 7. The archival department, a rarely visited place. It was where the physical remnants of the pre-Supermatrix world were stored. Artifacts deemed too fragile, too unique, or irrelevant to be digitized. Lycos guided her through the maze, its sensors pinpointing the location. They stopped before a reinforced door, unmarked save for a small alphanumeric code. Thea entered the access sequence, and the door hissed open, revealing a small, dimly lit chamber. In the center of the room, on a simple pedestal, lay the artifact. It was a piece of fabric. Artifact designated textile, embroidered, origin, probably ancient Ukraine. Estimated age, 500, 700 years. Likely a so-called vyshyvanka or embroidery. Thea froze. The term was ancient, almost forgotten in her circle, a thing from the past that held codes, schemes, meanings. Embroidery as text, as genetic memory. She brought up an image of the artifact as a hologram. The ornament structure turned out to be more complex than it first appeared, symmetries that subtly deviated, colors that shifted depending on the angle and lighting. "Is this a matrix?" she whispered. Thea approached the pedestal, her movements slow, almost hesitant. She reached out a hand, stopping just short of touching the fabric. As she did, she felt it, a subtle shift in the air, a faint resonance that seemed to hum just beneath the threshold of hearing. She activated her portable scanner, directing its beam over the embroidery. Data flooded her interface, but it was fragmented, incomplete. The Supermatrix was struggling to interpret the patterns. It recognized the materials, the age, but not the intricate network of threads, the specific arrangement of the symbols. A language it didn't understand. The Supermatrix, the most powerful analytical tool ever created, was stumped by a piece of old cloth. As the system attempted to force the patterns into its logical framework, something extraordinary happened. The air in the chamber seemed to thicken, to become charged with an invisible energy affecting local information field. The waveform intensified, spreading outwards from the textile like ripples on a pond. And as it spread, Thea felt that resonance again, stronger this time. On the main display in the chamber, the black rose flickered, growing larger, more defined. As if feeding on this unexpected energy, Thea stared at the vyshyvanka, then back at the pulsing black rose. The connection was undeniable. This artifact, this relic from a time before optimization, was the source of the glitch. It was injecting something into the system that the system couldn't handle. Not data, but feeling. Lycos continued its analysis, but its reports were increasingly filled with terms like unforeseen algorithmic loops, nonlinear progression, and fractal complexity detected within pattern structure. Fractal. The patterns on the vyshyvanka weren't just repeating, they were repeating at different scales, nested within each other. Standing in the quiet chamber, bathed in the strange emotional light of the artifact's energy, Thea felt a shift within herself. The carefully constructed walls of logic and control that had defined her for so long seemed to tremble. The Supermatrix, her life's work, her sanctuary, suddenly felt incomplete. It could manage the world, but it couldn't understand this. It could optimize life, but it couldn't replicate the untamed power contained within these threads. The memory of a small, scruffy dog and the sharp, clean pain of loss surfaced again. That pain, too, had been illogical, inefficient, but it had been real, more real in that moment than all the perfect data on her screens. Later that night, back in her Spartan apartment, Thea opened a private data file. She hadn't used it in a long time. Her fingers hovered over the interface. What to write? How to articulate the unsettling truth that had unfolded in the archival department. She began to type, slowly at first, then with increasing urgency. She described the artifact, the emotional wave, the Supermatrix's failure to understand, and then she wrote about the black rose and the feeling it evoked. A feeling that resonated with a buried ache she thought she had long since overcome. And yet, despite their imperfection, they were true. The system is incomplete, she wrote. It cannot process what it does not understand. And there are things that logic alone cannot grasp. Then, she added a final line. What else have we forgotten? The world around remained perfectly controlled, but something had shifted in her heart. Precision had failed.